Morning, everyone. So for this lecture, I'm going to talk about minerals as well as vitamins. So these are the last two feed elements for um, na i-discuss natin. So I've discussed about carbohydrates, proteins, water, lipids, and then I will discuss itong mineral at saka yung vitamins. So, yun yung mga feed elements. Yun yung mga importanteng mga nutrients na kailangan ng isang animal for its production. So, para maging productive siya. So, there are about mga 104 elements, mga minerals that occurs in nature. Pero when we say mineral, we're talking about yung mga importanteng mineral that have a part on animal nutrition. So there are about 40 mineral elements that occur in measurable amount in nature in the plants and animal tissues. So these 40 mineral elements, um, this could parang ito yung mga kailangan or some of it kailangan talaga ng animal for its biological processes. Kasi pag wala itong mga mineral na to, it may lead to disease, it may lead to the animal being unproductive, it may lead to the animal not performing its mga biological processes. So, the minerals are generally classified into two categories. So, you have yung macro element and yung micro element na tinatawag. So, in macro element, you have here yung major element na tinatawag. So, when we say macro element, ito rin yung mga major element. Yung talagang kailangan ng animal. And then yung micro element, it is also called as minor element or trace element. So, yung macro element, these are minerals which are required in relatively large amount, and in most cases, they are used in the synthesis of structural tissue. So, yun yung definition ng macro element. So, when we say macro element, na mga minerals, ito yung mga kailangan talaga ng animal in large amount. Yung mas maramihan in large amount. And itong mga minerals na to, kailangan ng isang animal since they are used in the production ng mga tissues. So they are used for growth. Itong macro elements na to in the synthesis of structural tissues. Yung pagdevelop ng mga muscles, ng mga bones, sa growth and development, kailangan itong macro element na ito. So, the mga important major elements, you have yung calcium, yung phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chlorine, and sulfur. So, yun yung mga importanteng minerals that the animal body needs in order to synthesize mga structural tissues. So, when we say micro element naman, these are minerals that are required in trace amounts only and usually function as activators or as component of enzyme system. So, ito namang mga micro elements, when compared to macro elements, mas konti lang yung amount na kailangan ng animal when it comes to micro minerals. But the thing is, these micro minerals, these are parang components of enzymes. So kailangan itong micro minerals na to para makapag-function, para magampanan ng role ng enzyme doon sa body ng animal. So, kailangan pa rin. So, meaning, Both of them are important for the animal. Yung macro mineral and the micro mineral, these are both important in the body of the animal. Yun lang pagkaiba is yung macro, mas kailangan in large amount, while yung micro, sa trace amount lang. Medyo konti lang yung kailangan. But by the end of the day, pareho silang important. So the concentration of trace elements is expressed in terms of parts per million. So since these are microelement, yung pag-express mo sa kanila is ppm, parts per million lang. Since yung concentration nila very low in the plants and in the animal body. So the important trace elements are yung iron, copper, you also have yung iodine, cobalt, zinc, manganese, fluorine. You also have yung selenium, molybdenum, chromium, nickel, you have silicon, tin, and vanadium. So ito yung mga important trace elements in the that are important to the animal. So, in that sense, ano nga ba yung important or yung essential at ano nga ba yung non-essential or not important minerals? So, when we say essential mineral elements, these are those minerals which have been proved to have a metabolic role in the animal body. So, meaning, ang meaning lang niyan is that ito yung mga minerals that takes part doon sa proper functioning ng animal. So, ito yung mga element na kailangan, like for example, for the growth of the animal, for the development of the animal, kailangan itong mga element na to, itong mga essential mineral elements. And at the same time, other functions such as sa reproductive function ng animal, sa pag-synthesize niya ng mga hormones, sa pag-regulate niya sa kanyang body, sa pag-maintain niya ng homeostasis sa kanyang body, kailangan itong mga essential mineral elements na tinatawag. And then when we say non-essential mineral elements naman, these are mineral elements are simply component of the animal tissue since they are present in the diet and are considered to be non-essential. As pag non-essential mineral element kasi, they do not play an essential role in the proper functioning on the metabolic process in the plant or in the animal body. So, they are called non-essential mineral elements. So, yun lang yung pagkakaiba. Basta pag sinabing essential mineral elements, it takes part doon sa metabolic process, doon sa body of proper functioning ng animal, while when we say non-essential mineral elements, it do not have a role or it do not take part on the proper functioning and the metabolic processes of the body of the animal. So with that being said, when we say essential, important sila. So ano nga ba yung function ng mineral doon sa animal body? So first, as a constituent of skeletal structure. So may mga elements like mineral, phosphorus, those mineral elements, they are a constituent of skeletal structure. So kung wala itong mga ito, most probably may mga bone deformities kang makikita, may mga diseases ka that are related to bones. So yung isang function ng mga minerals is as a constituent of skeletal structure. And then another one in regulating acid-base equilibrium. So may mga elements like sodium, potassium, mga ganon, that takes part in the, when we say equilibrium kasi, it is a balance that takes part in the balance of acid and base. So, minemaintain nila yung balance. So, hindi masyadong acidic, kasi pag masyadong acidic, it may lead to a disease called acidosis. And kung masyado namang basic or masyado namang alkaline, it may lead to diseases called alkalosis. So, yung mineral, mine-maintain nila yung balance between the acid and the base na pH ng animal body. So, another one, it is helpful in maintaining viscosity, diffusion, and osmotic pressure. So, elements like sodium may take part on it. So, kailangan ito. Kailangan yung mga mineral for the proper viscosity, proper diffusion ng mga nutrients, at saka yung osmotic pressure. So, kailangan yung mga minerals. And then, they act as a component or an activator of enzymes and or other biological systems. So, itong mga minerals rin, they are part of the enzyme. They are a component of the enzyme. So, kung wala itong mga mineral elements na to, itong mga minerals na to, yung enzyme na yun, hindi niya magagampanan ngayon yung role niya on the body of the animal. And since kung hindi magagampanan ng enzyme yung role niya doon sa body ng animal, this may lead to complications, this may lead to diseases. So, yun yung isa rin function ng animal as a component and as an activator of the enzymes. So, first thing that we need to discuss is yung mineral na calcium. So, itong calcium na to, as well as yung phosphorus, they serve as the major structural elements of skeletal tissue. So sila yung, itong calcium na to, yung isa sa mineral na kailangan sa skeletal natin. So, oftentimes, pag may mga nakikita kayo kasi na when we're talking about calcium, it is often associated with mga skeleton, di ba? Sa mga bones. So, because it is a major structural element doon sa skeletal tissue. So, yung normal na level of blood calcium in animal ranges from 9 to 11 milligram lang per 100 ml of blood serum. So, ganun lang, ganun yung amount niya. Nasa 9 to 11 milligram per 100 ml of serum or blood serum. Now with that, itong 45 to 50% of the plasma calcium yung nandito sa blood sa serum is in the soluble ionized form, yung soluble ionized form daw, while yung 40 to 45% is bound with protein, primarily as albumin and other plasma protein. So, you could say that half of it are soluble and in ionized form, yung nasa blood serum natin, while yung half, it is bound or nakabind doon sa protein as albumin. So, yun yung calcium. So, the plasma of laying hens contains 30 to 40 milligram calcium per 100 ml of blood. So, meaning parang mas marami compared to the normal na calcium level doon sa blood ng mga animals. Since, when we say laying hens kasi, nagpo-produce siya ng eggshell. Now, this eggshell, one of its component is yung calcium. So, natural na sa laying hens, dun sa nagpo-produce ng egg, mas madami yung calcium doon sa blood niya. To accommodate yung pag-produce niya ng maraming eggs. So, yun yung Then, factors that affect the level of blood calcium, pwede yung levels of calcium and phosphorus and the calcium-phosphorus ratio of the food. So, pag merong low intake sa food, sa calcium, lalong-lalo na if over a long period of time, syempre natural na it will lead to decreased blood calcium. So, yun yung kailangan, yun yung isipin, yung isang factor that may affect the level of blood calcium. Yung calcium phosphorus ratio on the food, yung recommended na calcium phosphorus ratio in the food is around 1:1. So, meaning 1 milligram of calcium, dapat 1 milligram rin na phosphorus yung iti-take mo. Or, pwede ring 2:1. So, 2 milligram na calcium yung iti-take mo, dapat may iti-take ka na 1 milligram of phosphorus. And then, another one is factor that may affect the level of blood calcium is the fat content in the diet. So, pag may parang difficulty doon sa pag-digest at difficulty in the absorption of fat doon sa diet, it can cause unimpaired or it can also cause difficulty on the absorption of calcium. So, always make sure that the fat content that the animal is ingesting can be easily digested and can be easily absorbed, as this may affect the absorption of calcium. Then, you also have itong phytic acid and oxalate na tinatawag. So, itong phytic acid and itong oxalate na to, itong oxalate kasi, lalong-lalo na in certain mga feed, it may precipitate calcium in the intestine. So, meaning, mawawala yung calcium. So, ito yung isang factor that may affect yung level of blood calcium. Kung masyadong marami itong phytic acid and oxalate na to, most probably, i-precipitate niya yung calcium doon sa intestine at mawawala yung calcium. Then, sa acidity relation naman, this is important in sa absorption ng calcium since acidic environment, lalong-lalong na doon sa intestine, acidic medium in the intestine, it will favor yung calcium absorption. So, mas maganda yung pag-absorb ng calcium if mas acidic yung environment doon sa intestine. And then, you also have yung protein in the diet. So, may mga calcium kasi like calcium salt, which are more soluble. So, mas soluble sila, mas easily digested, mas easily absorbed sila when they are mixed up with mga amino acid. So, yung protein in the diet, it may affect yung absorption ng calcium. So, another one is yung vitamin D in the diet. So, just like what I've said kanina, na yung calcium absorption, it favors yung acid environment, yung acidic environment. So, yung vitamin D in the diet, it provides an acidic medium in the intestine. So, it will cause more of the calcium to be absorbed. And then, another one, factor that may affect yung level of blood calcium is yung parathyroid hormone na tinatawag. Yung parathyroid hormone, itong hormone na to, nire-regulate niya yung calcium level in the blood. So, yun yung ginagawa nitong hormone na to. Then, you also have yung kidney threshold na tinatawag. So, in a normal adult animal, yung mga extra calcium na na-absorb doon sa kidney, it is parang readily excreted into urine. And then, Last is yung sex hormone. So, an example is this: if it has low level of estrogen hormone, it can cause poor absorption of calcium. So, yun yung mga factors that may affect the level of blood calcium in the body. So, ano nga ba yung function ng calcium? So, yung function ng calcium in the animal body is, number one, it is an essential uh, mineral for skeletal formation. So, kailangan to sa bone development. Sa normal blood clotting, so kailangan na rin yung calcium para mag-clot yung mga wounds, mga sugat ng mga animal. And then, rhythmic heart action, kailangan rin. Neuromuscular excitability, so kailangan yung calcium. Yung calcium yung parang nagti-trigger doon sa mga muscles natin to parang para gumalaw. So, yun yung ginagawa ng calcium. Then, another one is for enzyme activation. And then, permeability of membranes and acid-base balance of body fluid, as well as the curdling of milk. So, yun yung mga functions ng calcium. So, the main site of calcium absorption is the small intestine. So, laging tatandaan yan. Yung pag-absorb mo ng calcium, almost lahat naman ng mga nutrient element as well as mga vitamins, I think they are all absorbed. Meron lang yung hindi na-absorb sa small intestine, pero most of the mineral elements natin, the main site for absorption nila is in the small intestine. For the calcium, it is specifically doon sa proximal portion of the duodenum. So, doon siya, when we say proximal, sa may likod na portion ng duodenum. So, doon yung pag-absorb. Pero yung duodenum, it is still a part of the small intestine. So, laging tatandaan yon, yung three parang parts ng small intestine. You have duodenum, jejunum, at saka ileum. So, the percentage of absorption of calcium decreases with age, high feed intake, high feed intake yan, high calcium intake, and low vitamin D intake. So, yun yung mga factors that may affect the percentage of absorption ng calcium. So, as the animal age, the absorption of calcium decreases. Then, the major route or yung pathway ng excretion ng calcium is through the feces. So, doon, yung mga extra calcium, kung may extra calcium na na-ingest ng animal, it is excreted through the feces. So, we have here yung deficiency symptoms ng calcium. So, first is yung ricket. So, when we say deficiency symptom, mababa, low level of calcium doon sa body ng animal. And this may trigger or this may result to diseases like, first, yung ricket. So, itong ricket mostly ay sa mga young growing animals. So, the symptoms of ricket are, yung pag may ricket, yung young animal, misshapen bones. So, medyo abnormal, may deformity yung bone ng animal. As well as enlargement of joints. So, para mas malaki yung mga joints niya. Parang namamaga yung mga joints niya. So, that's one of the symptoms of rickets. So, because of its misshapen bones at saka enlargement of joints, meron rin siyang lameness and stiffness because of it. And yun yung isang disease that may result in the deficiency of calcium. Another one is osteomalacia na tinatawag. So this may happen this happens in adult animals. So yung mga osteomalacia kasi, it will affect yung bone ng mga adult animals, wherein it will become weak, porous, and soft. So meaning, hindi na sila makakapag grow ng maayos kasi weak na yung bones nila. And then another one, porous na yung bones nila. And pag porous na kasi, mas soft. So baka hindi na sila makakapag perform ng mating, mga ganun, ng breeding, since porous na itong mga bones nila, and then it may lead to injury rin. Then another one is osteoporosis. Osteoporosis characterized by a decreased bone mass. Then another one is milk fever. This happens doon sa mga milking animal, mga lactating animal. Then improper development of eggshell. So in laying hens, yung deficiency ng calcium, it may result in itong improper development of eggshell. So ang nangyayari pag deficient yung laying hen mo ng calcium, hindi nagpo-form ng maayos yung egg, at saka easily breakable yung egg. So yun yung deficiency symptom ng calcium doon sa laying hen. So kakibat ng calcium, we have here yung phosphorus. So the major portion of phosphorus in the animal body is distributed in the bones. So yun yung the two minerals that are parang important doon sa bones, sa skeleton, is yung calcium and itong phosphorus. So the content of inorganic phosphorus in the blood is 4 to 9 milligrams per 100 ml, depending doon sa species and age. Then the whole blood contains about 35 to 40 milligram phosphorus per 100 ml. So for the functions of the phosphorus, first is plays an important role in the formation of bones and teeth along with calcium. So yun. Laging tatandaan na yung phosphorus and calcium, sila yung may function doon sa bone, sa formation ng bone. Then it also maintains the normal level of blood calcium and its proper activity. And then it plays a vital role in energy metabolism, in the formation of sugar phosphate like adenosine diphosphate and yung triphosphate na tinatawag. So as the name implies, itong ADP may phosphate. And then sa ATP may triphosphate na tinatawag. May phosphorus sila. Hindi naman phosphorus, pero basta yung phosphorus na ito, it plays a vital role doon sa pag-create, doon sa pag-produce ng animal body ng mga energy natin in the form of ADP and ATP. So, for its deficiency symptoms, yung phosphorus, ganun na rin doon sa calcium, you have rickets at saka osteomalacia, same with calcium. So, pag may rickets at saka osteomalacia yung animal, hindi lang yung calcium yung bibigyan mo, yung isusupplement mo. ilagay mo na rin yung phosphorus kasi they do have the same parang disease when they are deficient, yung calcium at saka phosphorus. Then another one is yung pika na tinatawag. Itong pika, it is called as the depraved appetite. Yung parang hindi nagugutom, parang ganon. So, itong pika na to, it is caused by phosphorus deficiency. So, yung affected na animal have abnormal appetite. And one of the symptoms is ngumangat-ngat siya ng mga parang foreign materials like yung mga kahoy doon sa fencing, yung mga rugs, pwede rin, at saka yung mga other foreign materials, yun yung ginagawa. Chinochew niya, ningangat-ngat niya, yun yung isang symptoms ng pika. So, since abnormal yung appetite niya, the animal can become very weak, and if not treated, it may die because of its weakness. So, yun. Then, another one is yung low reproduction. So, low dietary intake ng phosphorus, it is associated with poor fertility as well as other dysfunction of the ovaries, and then irregularity of secretion of hormones like estrogen. So, yun yung mga symptoms ng low reproduction. That is caused by low levels or deficiency of phosphorus. Ito yung mga sources natin ng phosphorus. So, first is yung mga animal sources natin like fish, meat, at saka bone meal. So, ito yung mga pwede natin pagkuhanan ng phosphorus sa animal. Fish meal, meat meal, at saka yung bone meal. Then, when it comes to plant-based naman na mga sources, you have wheat bran, rice bran, at saka yung rice cake na tinatawag. So, these are the sources natin ng phosphorus. So, most of the mga phosphorus that are present in the cereals and other byproducts, yung mga plant-based byproducts natin, are in the form of what we call as the phytate na phosphorus. So, itong mga phytate na to, it can be utilized by the ruminant. Pwedeng i-utilize ang ruminant because of the rumen microbial activity doon sa rumen ng animal. Kaya pwede niyang i-utilize itong mga phytates na ito. So, another macro element that is important is yung magnesium. So, there are about 70% of the total magnesium is found in the skeleton, and then the remainder being distributed in tissue, in soft tissues and fluids. Now, the blood, it can contain 2 to 3 milligrams of magnesium per 100 ml. So, in the bone, it contains about 1.5% ng magnesium. So, yun. For the function of the magnesium, it plays an important role in activating various enzymes such as phosphate transferases, decarboxylases, and acyltransferases. So, yun yung mga enzymes na kailangan yung magnesium for them to be activated. Then, magnesium is an activator of phosphates and takes an active part in carbohydrate metabolism. And then it also plays an important role in calcium and phosphorus metabolism. So uh, yun rin yung ginagawa niya. And then magnesium also plays an important role for the neuromuscular activity of the body. So yun, sa paggalaw ng animal doon sa mga activity niya that uses muscle, kailangan itong magnesium. Kaya yung mga deficiency symptoms ng magnesium, some of it, hindi gumagalaw yung animal. Parang napaparalyze siya. So, yun yung parang deficiency symptom ng magnesium. So, just like doon sa magnesium kasi yung pag-absorb mo, hindi doon sa small intestine. So, yung laging tatandaan yon, yung absorption of magnesium in the body, it takes place, most of the magnesium in the body takes place of the animal body, it is absorbed in the rumen and reticulum. So, doon ma-absorb yung mga magnesium, hindi doon sa small intestine. Then, it is also absorbed from large intestine. So, yun lang yung laging tatandaan. Then, magnesium is excreted via yung feces, urine, at saka pwede doon sa milk. So, doon pwede ma-excrete yung mga extra magnesium. So, basta laging tatandaan, in absorption of magnesium doon sa rumen, reticulum, at saka sa large intestine. So, in the deficiency of magnesium, ito yung mga parang disease that may lead to it. So, first is magnesium tetany na tinatawag, which happens doon sa mga adult animal. So, magnesium tetany, it can also be called as grass stagger, pwedeng ganun, or grass tetany. So, di ba yung tetanus, one of its symptoms is yung napaparalyze yung jaw, parang ganun. So, ganun na rin doon sa magnesium tetany. Because itong magnesium, as I've said kanina, it has a function on the neuromuscular activity ng animal. Yun yung ginagawa. Parang nag-stagger, parang hindi makalakad ng maayos yung mga ruminants, mga calves, yung mga cow. Hindi sila makalakad ng maayos or hindi sila makalakad mismo if they have magnesium tetany. Then, you also have yung hypomagnesemia in young calves. So, itong hypomagnesemia in young calves, this is also called as magnesium tetany, pero it is more specific doon sa mga batang mga cow, doon sa mga calf na tinatawag natin. Then, you also have mga neurological symptoms like one study doon sa mga rats showed that when there is a low magnesium in the body, it may cause convulsion and death. Pwedeng ganun. Doon naman sa poultry, yung deficient ng magnesium, it may cause neurological diseases, neurological symptoms. Then, for the sources of magnesium natin, pwede doon sa rice bran or corn bran, oil cakes, and then pwede doon sa mga leguminous fodder natin. So, most of the commonly fed na roughage and concentrate, it can contain around 0.1% na magnesium. And then, laging tatandaan na yung mga milk natin, at saka yung mga other animal products, They are poor source of magnesium. So, yun yung laging tatandaan. Then, another one is yung sodium na mineral. So, it is an alkaline salt which forms about 93% of the alkali of the blood. So, it is found in blood fluids and muscles of the body. So, yung total amount of sodium in the body is about 0.2%, of which up to 0.05% is deposited in the bone. So, ganun lang kaliit yung sodium doon sa blood natin. So, for the function of the sodium, it is useful in the metabolism of water, sa protein, fat, at saka doon sa carbohydrate. So, yun yung function niya. May part siya doon sa metabolism ng water, protein, fat, at saka itong carbohydrate. And then, it controls yung body fluid concentration. So, yun yung isa. Kasi, it is often associated with sodium. Yung sodium often associated with yung doon sa part ng kidney. Doon sa pag-control ng body fluid, sa contraction of nerve and muscle fibers, yung blood fluid pH, at saka yung osmotic pressure. And then, yung sodium, it also helps in maintaining neutrality among body tissues. Since this is parang an alkaline, so it can help parang make yung acidity ng mga tissues natin back to normal, back to neutral level. So, yun yung ginagawa ng sodium. So, for the absorption of sodium, it takes place in the rumen and upper small intestine. So, it is mainly excreted through urine with small amount is also excreted through feces and perspiration. So, yun yung dahilan kung bakit yung mga sweat natin medyo parang may maalat-alat. So, this is because of this sodium which can be excreted through yung sweat at saka doon sa feces, pero a large amount of it is excreted through urine. So, for the diseases, mga pwedeng mangyari if the animal is deficient in sodium, first is loss of appetite. So, ayaw kumain ng animal if it is deficient in sodium. Although, marami rin mga diseases that can cause loss of appetite doon sa animal. So, it is hard talaga to know exactly if it is deficient in sodium. Since itong loss of appetite, it is general kasi. Medyo general when it comes to symptoms since most of the diseases, pag naapektaran yung animal, most of it, loss of appetite talaga. Then, general debility. So, when we say debility, it is the physical weakness. Since hindi kakain yung animal, this may lead to physical weakness kasi wala na siyang nakain, wala na siyang energy. So, because of that, also with the stoppage of growth and development, hindi siya makakapag-grow at makakapag-develop ng maayos. Then, one of its symptoms rin, or it may lead also to decreased body temperature if there is a deficiency of sodium. And then, neuromuscular disturbances, at saka, another one is loss of milk production in lactating animal. So, yun yung mga deficiency of sodium. Ito yung ginagawa. It may lead to it. So, para hindi bababa yung milk production ng mga lactating animal mo, always make sure that you have sufficient sodium in the diet of the animal. So, sources of sodium, the most common is yung sodium chloride or yung common salt na tinatawag. So, ito yung pwede mong pagkuhanan ng sodium. Kasi most of the feed at saka most of the forages are poor source of sodium. So, medyo maliit lang talaga yung nakukuha mong sodium doon sa mga forages, doon sa mga feed ng animal. So, you will result doon sa sodium chloride or yung common salt na tinatawag. So, another one is yung potassium. So, most of the potassium in the animal body is found in the cell. So, yung mga excess of this potassium, excess of this salt in the body interferes with the absorption and metabolism of potassium. So, yun daw, mga excess sodium, excess salt doon sa body ng animal, it may parang hinder, it may prevent the absorption and metabolism nitong mga potassium natin. So for the function ng potassium, it is an essential part along with sodium, chlorine, at saka yung mga bicarbonate ions natin in the regulation ng osmotic pressure of the body and in the acid-base balance of the animal. So, itong mga potassium, it also plays an important role in the nerve and muscle excitability. So, parang itong potassium, it takes a role doon sa pag-contract, pag-relax ng mga muscles. And it also activates certain enzymes. So, for the absorption of potassium, yung potassium, it is absorbed mainly from the small intestine and to some extent in the large intestine. Pero, mainly talaga doon sa small intestine. Kung may mga na-escape man, nag-escape na mga potassium na hindi na-absorb doon sa small intestine, it will be absorbed in the large intestine. And then, yung pag-excrete mo ng potassium, it is mainly via yung urine. Pero it could be also from the sweat at saka doon sa milk ng animal. So doon mag-excrete yung mga extra potassium doon sa body. So for the deficiency of potassium, pwedeng slow growth yung magaganap pag deficient siya sa potassium. Pwede rin na reduce feed at saka water intake dahil sa slow growth kaya nare-reduce yung feed at saka water intake. And then muscular weakness, nervous disorder, at saka stiffness. Itong stiffness, this may result because of the muscular weakness at saka nervous disorder na nangyayari if it is deficient sa potassium yung animal body. So, yung sources of potassium, it can be from pasture grasses, pwede. Magandang ano yan ng potassium. Or it can be from milk. So, pwede sa milk. Another mineral is the chlorine na tinatawag. So, yung chlorine, it is found in the skin, sa subcutaneous tissues, at saka sa mga gastric juices. So, out of the total amount present in the body, 80 to 85% ng mga chloride is found in inorganic form, while yung remaining na 15 to 20% nasa organic form. So, the function of the chlorine, for the chlorine, this mineral is required for the formation of hydrochloric acid of the gastric juices. So, yun yung isang function niya. Yung hydrochloric acid, matatagpuan ito sa stomach. So, yung function ng chlorine, kailangan ito, required ito para makapag-form ng hydrochloric acid. And in the form of sodium chloride, it also assists in the digestion of food. So, mostly on the digestive part, itong chlorine. So the chlorine is associated also with a sodium at saka itong potassium in acid-base relationship and osmotic regulation. So ito yung ginagawa rin. And it also helps in cell nutrition, growth, and reproduction among animals. So yun yung ginagawa. So for the deficiency of chlorine, it will lead to alkalosis. So when we say alkalosis, yung pH level doon sa body ng animal, it is high. Um, nasa nasa mga it is higher than yung neutral na 7 na pH level. So yun yung alkalosis. So pag deficient ka, 'di ba sa chlorine it is often associated with mga hydrochloric acid, mga ganon. So pag deficient ka sa chlorine, this may lead to the body having an increased pH level. So yung alkalosis na tinatawag. Then chlorine, just like any other parang deficiency, it can decrease the appetite, which can result to poor growth rate and milk production. And then, it also leads to feather picking and cannibalism. So, yun yung parang specific na makikita mo doon sa chlorine. If it is deficient in chlorine. Yung deficiency ng chlorine, mainly doon sa poultry, it may lead to feather picking and cannibalism. So, although may mga parang other factors like yung space ng mga cages, pero another thing or another factor that you need to consider is yung mineral. Baka kasi kahit na malawak yung cages, kahit na hindi sila overcrowded, pero nakaka-experience pa rin sila ng feather picking, mayroon pa rin may cannibalism pa rin na nangyayari, then it may due to the deficiency na ng chlorine. So, for the sources of chlorine, with the exception ng itong fish and meat meal, the chlorine content of most food is comparatively low. So, medyo mababa yung chlorine content ng most food. So, the chlorine content of pasture grass varies from 3 to 25 grams per kilogram dry matter lamang. So, the main source of this element for most animals is yung common salt. So, doon sa salt na nilalagay mo, di ba, yung sources ng sodium is common salt. Meron rin doon yung chlorine. So, yun yung parang main source nitong chlorine for most animal is doon sa common salt. Then another one is yung sulfur na tinatawag. So most of the sulfur in the animal body occurs in the proteins containing the amino acid cysteine, and methionine. So yung mga proteins that have a component of cysteine, and methionine, most of it contains also yung sulfur. So, yung vitamins rin na biotin and thiamine, at saka yung hormone na insulin, it also contains sulfur. So, yung function ng sulfur, it is one of the essential element for protein and vitamin synthesis. Doon sa pag-produce natin, di ba sinabi ko kanina na yung sulfur, matatagpuan mo doon sa mga protein that contains cysteine, methionine, mga ganun. At saka doon sa mga biotin na vitamins. So, yung sulfur kasi, it is an essential element doon sa pag-produce ng body, doon sa production ng protein at saka vitamin. So, it also combined with iron and used for the formation of hemoglobin in red blood cell. So, with the aid or with the combination with iron, yung iron and sulfur, it will form ngayon yung sinatawag nating hemoglobin doon sa red blood cells. Then, with that, it is also a useful element in blood clotting and endocrine function. as well as it also maintain intra and extracellular fluid and acid-base balance. So yun yung mga functions of sulfur. So for the absorption ng sulfur, it is absorbed in the rumen at saka doon sa small intestine. So yun yung um, mga places kung saan na-absorb yung sulfur doon sa rumen at saka doon sa small intestine. So it can be recycled to the rumen with similarities to the recycling system of the urea nitrogen system. Ang sinasabi nito, di ba yung urea pwedeng pumunta doon sa liver, ay yung urea na nandoon sa liver, it can be reabsorbed by the body of the animal para um, to make use of the nutrients, yung mga to become yung microbial protein na tinatawag. Now, in the recycling system, pwede rin yung sulfur. So, pwedeng mai-reabsorb rin ng body ng animal yung sulfur para to make use of it, para ma-absorb niya yung nutrients na yun. So, for the deficiency of sulfur, just like in any other mineral elements, yun yung parang mahirap when it comes to deficiency ng mga minerals. Kasi most of them, they have the same symptoms. Kasi like, for example, itong sulfur, ganun rin doon sa ibang minerals. You have poor growth and development, loss of weight, mayroon rin siyang weakness. Pero yung mga specific naman like yung microbial protein production is reduced. So, nare-reduce daw yung microbial protein pag may deficiency ka ng sulfur as well as yung production mo ng quality wool bumababa. So, may poor production ka ng quality wool. Then for the sources of sulfur, all balance rations, muscles, wings of the birds, horns, hair, nails, bile juice, saliva, red blood cells, nervous system, and hope of the animal contain certain amount of sulfur. So pwedeng doon mo pagkukunan yung sources mo ng sulfur. Then another one is yung iron. So the total amount of iron found in the body is 0.004%. So ganun lang kaliit. Half of this amount remains in combination with yung red blood cell. And then in the form of heme associated with red coloring matter or yung hemoglobin. Yung remaining portion naman, it is found associated with myoglobin and enzyme. So meaning yung 0.002%, it is associated with red blood cell, while yung 0.002% na yon ng iron in the animal body, it is found associated with myoglobin at saka doon sa enzyme. So yung function ng iron as part of the respiratory pigment and hemoglobin, the iron will help in utilizing yung oxygen of the blood, and it activates enzyme by taking part in the enzyme system and assisting in proper functioning ng mga organs natin dito sa body. So for the deficiency ng iron, the deficiency symptoms of iron are lower weight gain, pwedeng lower weight gain. Then pwede rin yung listlessness, pwedeng listlessness, inability to withstand circulatory strain, pwede rin. Labored breathing. So, when we say labored breathing, nahihirapan na huminga. And then, reduce appetite and decrease resistance to infection. So, yun yung mga symptoms of animals that are deficient in iron. Now, yung anemia in piglets is characterized by poor appetite and growth. Yung anemia kasi doon sa piglet, it is caused by yung deficiency ng iron. Kaya yung ginagawa is tinuturukan natin after 3 days ng iron, 2 cc of iron yung mga piglets natin. Kasi most of the reservoir ng iron doon sa body ng piglet nauubos within 3 days. So, kailangan natin siyang turukan ngayon ng iron. Um, Pag hindi natin siya sinupplementaan or hindi natin binigyan ng iron, it may cause anemia, which is can be characterized by poor appetite at saka growth na nung animal. And then yung breeding niya becomes labored and spasmodic. And this condition is called yung TUMP na tinatawag, THUMP. So yun yung deficiency of iron. So sources of iron pwede doon sa mga green forages natin. Doon ka makakakuha ng iron. So it is not mainly a problem for ruminants since yun yung pinapakain natin. Pero doon sa mga monogastric natin, kailangan talaga mag-supplement ka ng iron. So, yun. So, I have here yung assignment ninyo. So, you have yung nutrients like copper, cobalt, yung zinc, at saka manganese. So, all of these are also an essential element for the mineral elements on the proper functioning of the body of the animal. So, yung gagawin ninyo, lalagyan nyo ng konting definition itong mga mineral elements na to. And then, ano nga ba yung function niya? So, based on researches, based on articles, mag-search kayo dun sa Google kung ano yung function ng copper, cobalt, zinc, manganese. And then, paano siya na-absorb? So, pwedeng na-absorb siya doon sa small intestine. Pwede rin na na-absorb siya doon sa rumen or large intestine. So, you can search for it. Then, yung deficiency symptoms, so when we say deficiency symptoms, kung deficient siya doon sa copper, so ano yung mangyayari? Ano yung mangyayari doon sa body ng animal? May poor growth ba na magaganap? Meron bang decreased feed intake, decreased water intake? So, you can search on it. And then, another one is the sources. So, yung sources, pwedeng itong copper, baka good source of copper yung mga forages natin. Itong cobalt, baka good source of cobalt yung mga rice bran, corn bran natin. So, tignan ninyo kung ano yung mga feedstuff that are high in copper, cobalt, zinc, and manganese. So, yun yung gagawin for this assignment. So, with that, thank you for listening and have a good day. So, yun, doon nagtatapos yung sa minerals natin. So, for this, I will be discussing the last na feed element, which is on vitamins. So, yun, when we say vitamins, these is indispensable for the growth and maintenance of the animal. So, meaning, they are important. Kailangan na kailangan ito for the growth and the development ng animal as well as on their maintenance. So, the mga biological processes na kailangan ng animal in order to live, kailangan niya ng vitamins. Yung vitamins, it can occur both in animals and plants and are present in only small amount in food. Another definition ng vitamin, these are substances distinct from major components of food, required in minute quantities and whose absence causes specific deficiency diseases. So itong vitamin na to, it is only required or it is only present in feed in small amount, pero it is required by the animal. Kasi if it is magiging deficient yung animal with certain vitamins, may mga specific diseases yan na uusbong kung deficient ka sa mga vitamins. So, another definition is that vitamins are organic substances that is required by animals in very small amounts for regulating various body processes towards normal health, growth, production, and reproduction. So meaning, kailangan ng animal itong vitamins para sa proper health niya, para hindi siya magkasakit, para sa growth niya, para lumaki siya ng maayos, para sa production niya, either by milk production or egg production or kung anumang production yan, kailangan itong vitamin. And then, for its reproduction naman, may mga specific vitamins that that the animal needs for proper reproduction. So, yun yung definition ng vitamin. It is an organic substance that is required or present lang in small amount pero is indispensable siya. Importante siya. So, in vitamins, there are at least 15 vitamins which has been accepted as essential food factors and few others have been proposed. So, yung vitamins daw, meron 15 daw na is indispensable or are essential to the proper nutrition of the animal. And these vitamins are divided into two main groups. So we have here, yung first is yung water-soluble vitamin. As the name implies, water-soluble. It is soluble in water. And then for fat-soluble naman, as the name implies, it is soluble in fat. So yun yung dalawang main groups ng vitamins. You have yung water-soluble vitamins and then you have yung fat-soluble vitamins. So, ito yung parang differences nung water-soluble vitamin at saka yung fat-soluble vitamin. So, you have 8 na parang parameters wherein doon sila nagdi-differ. So, first is on solubility. So, as the name implies, tulad nga ng sinabi ko, fat-soluble vitamins, they are soluble in fat. Water-soluble vitamins, they are soluble in water. Now, for their chemical nature, for the fat-soluble vitamins, it consists only of the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. While on water-soluble vitamins, contains yung carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus. Or pwede meron siyang cobalt na element. So yun yung water-soluble vitamins. So basically mas madami yung element na nandun sa water-soluble vitamins compared mo doon sa fat-soluble vitamins wherein it is only nasa tatlo lang, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So for their functions, yung fat-soluble vitamins kasi consists of the vitamin A, D, E, and K. So itong vitamin A, D, E, K, or ADEC, works doon sa vision ng animal. So, pwede rin sa calcium absorption niya, maintenance of genital system, and blood clotting respectively. So meaning, yung vitamin A, it works on the vision. Yung vitamin D, for calcium absorption. Yung vitamin E, maintenance of genital system. And then yung vitamin K, mainly on the blood clotting. So for water-soluble naman, Yung mga water-soluble vitamins, they act as a coenzyme or prosthetic groups of enzymes. So, yun yung parang function nila. So, for their synthesis, only yung vitamin K doon sa fat soluble is synthesized by mga microorganisms. Yung vitamin D can be synthesized in the skin upon exposure to sunlight. On the water-soluble vitamins, specifically yung mga ruminant natin, yung goat and sheep natin, mga cattle, they can synthesize all the vitamin B complex. Now, itong mga vitamin B complex, these are considered as water-soluble vitamins. So, they can synthesize all vitamin B complex with incorporation of cobalt in diet. So, yun. Further absorption, fat-soluble vitamins, they are absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract by passive diffusion. Then, for the water-soluble vitamin, they are absorbed from the gut directly. Further storage, yung mga fat-soluble vitamins natin, doon sila sa liver na i-store. While yung soluble natin, because they are water-soluble, they are not stored except for the vitamin B12 which is stored in the liver, as well as yung sa riboflavin. Then for the excretion, for the fat-soluble vitamins, excess na fat-soluble vitamins, they are excreted in feces via yung bile, while yung water-soluble vitamins, they are excreted as urine. So meaning, fat-soluble vitamins, solid sila, as feces sila, while water-soluble vitamins, they are excreted as urine or yung liquid. Now, for their toxicity, for the vitamins A, D, E, and K, yung fat-soluble vitamins, if there is an excess doon sa kinain ng animal, it may lead to toxicity because they are stored in the body. Because nai-store sila sa liver, di ba? So, meaning, yung mga excess na yon, most probably hindi na-excrete kagad, nai-store pa lang. So, if nai-store yun, magbi-build up yung level of fat-soluble vitamins doon sa body, which can lead to toxicity. While on water-soluble vitamins, as they are readily soluble in water and not stored in any, so it is relatively non-toxic. So, yun yung pagkakaiba ng water-soluble vitamin with that of the fat-soluble vitamins. So, for the function of the vitamins, so itong mga vitamins na to are essential for good health and play an important role in body growth. So yun, almost lahat naman ng nutrients, ganun yung ginagawa. It is an essential for the good health as well as has an important role doon sa pag-grow. And then another one is that vitamins provides resistance against diseases. So, napro-provide yan ng resistance against diseases. And vitamins are essential constituents of certain enzymes. So, may mga enzymes that need yung mga vitamins in order to be activated, in order to be synthesized. Then, it also has a part on the regulation of body metabolism, as well as vitamins are needed for the development of fetuses. Like for example, yung vitamin A are needed for the proper functioning of vision, while yung vitamin C will keep yung gum natin in healthy state. So, yun yung ginagawa kung nakikita mo na yun yung nire-recommend ng mga doktor if nakikita nila na nag-bleed yung gum or may mga gum diseases na tinatawag. So, ang nire-recommend nila is kumain ng oranges. Now, we know that yung oranges are a good source of vitamin C. So, yun. Vitamin C keeps the gum in healthy state. So, first, let's go over yung vitamin A na tinatawag. So, yung vitamin A was discovered in 1913 by McCollum and his colleague. So, in vitamin A, there are two different forms. May dalawang form yan ng vitamin A. So, first is yung retinol na tinatawag. At saka yung second is yung dehydroxyretinol na tinatawag. So, always remember that vitamin A, it do not exist as such in plants. So, wala kang makukuhang vitamin A doon sa plant. So, for their metabolism, yung beta-carotene which is present doon sa mga plants, ito yung nako-convert into vitamin A, which takes place doon sa intestine natin or intestine ng animal. So, di ba sinabi ko na vitamin A, it is not present in any plants. Pero yung mga plants natin, we have yung tinatawag nilang beta-carotene, which is metabolized by the body, by the animal body in the intestine to become yung vitamin A. So, the main site naman ng vitamin A absorption is in the proximal jejunum. And as all of the fat-soluble vitamins, yung vitamin A, it is also stored in the liver. And in general, yung carotene na kinakain ng mga animal, the carotene digestibility will be higher during yung warmer months and then lower than average during winter. So meaning, mas maganda yung pag-produce mo, pag-digest, metabolize ang beta-carotene into vitamin A during warmer months when compared to the colder months or during winter. So, yung function ng vitamin, it has many important functions. So, first, it is responsible for the normal development of various epithelial tissues in the body. So, yung mga epithelial tissues daw natin, kailangan niya ng vitamin A to develop. And then, it is helpful in transmission of light stimuli from the eye to the brain. So, yun yung bakit sinasabi natin na it is good for the eye yung vitamin A because it takes part or it helps in the transmission ng light stimuli from the eye into the brain. So, the lack of vitamin A in the diet can cause keratosis of the skin or yung dryness or roughness of the skin. So, meaning, taking in vitamin A prevents yung keratosis or yung dryness and roughness of the skin. And then vitamin A has been called as anti-infective vitamin. So meaning it has a role in resisting diseases. So para mas maganda na yung resistance ng disease ng animal if maganda yung supply niya ng vitamin A. So, when the animal is deficient in vitamin A, we can know kung ano yung mga yun with itong mga symptoms na to, or mga diseases. So, first is night blindness. So, because the vitamin A, it is often associated with with vision, wherein yung vitamin A, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, it It parang helps in the transmission of light stimuli from the eye into the brain. So kung deficient ka ng vitamin A, uh, you can parang experience night blindness. So yung night blindness na tinatawag, 'di ba pag um, gabi, uh, yung eyes natin, it can adjust to the dimmer surroundings, yun doon sa mas darker na surroundings. Meaning may makikita at makikita ka pa rin kahit na madilim na. For the people that are deficient in vitamin A, they have night blindness na. Wala na talaga silang makikita during uh, paggabi na or yung darker na surroundings. Then another one is serophthalmia na tinatawag. So, specifically doon sa mga cattle with may makikita ka na parang excessive watering, tsaka may softening and cloudiness on the eye. It is a symptom of serophthalmia. So, yung serophthalmia, it may lead to blindness kung hindi naagapan. And then, yung deficiency ng vitamin A, it is also important in breeding animals as this as a deficiency of this vitamin A, it may lead to infertility and abortion. So, kailangan talaga na supplyan mo ng vitamin A for their reproductive capacity. And then, another one is for their keratinization of epithelial cell na tinatawag. So, yung vitamin A deficiency, it can cause keratinization of the epithelial cell. So, this may result in sinus, yung complications of the sinus, whether it may result to diarrhea. So, yun yung mga deficiencies for yung mga diseases that may occur, mga complications that may occur if you are deficient in vitamin A. So, another one is vitamin K, which is also discovered by McCollum in 1922 as an anti-rachitic factor. So, the most important vitamin D, may dalawa yan. You have yung ergocalciferol and then the cholecalciferol na tinatawag. So, yung vitamin D, it can be synthesized in the skin. The ultraviolet light is the main power that converts yung vitamin into vitamin D. So, yun yung kaya sinasabi nila na para magkaroon ka or may sufficient vitamin D ka, magpa-araw ka. Kasi yung ultraviolet light na nanggaling sa sun, it can convert yung provitamin that are present in our body into vitamin D. So, the functions of the vitamin D. So, yung vitamin D, it can play an important role for the absorption of calcium and phosphorus from the gastrointestinal tract. So, meaning, in order to properly absorb yung calcium and phosphorus doon sa body ng animal, you need yung vitamin D. So, it also helps in the reabsorption of phosphorus from the kidney tubules, and then an addition of vitamin D reduces oxidation of citric acid, and it increases the activity of the enzyme phytase na tinatawag. Other functions of the vitamin, it also stimulate the release of calcium. So notice that the functions of the vitamin D revolves around the calcium and phosphorus. Kasi it also stimulates the incorporation of phosphorus into phospholipids, and it promotes normal development of bone. So yun yung mga functions ng vitamin D. So, when you have a deficiency of vitamin D, ito yung mga diseases na or mga complications na pwedeng mangyari. So, first, failure of calcium salt deposition in the cartilage. Then, deficiency of vitamin D also result to a failure for the cartilage cell to mature. Then, vitamin D also result to rickets na tinatawag, and then retarded growth. As well as when there is a deficient vitamin D, because it helps in the absorption of calcium and phosphorus, it can, deficiency of vitamin D can cause bone and beak to become rubbery in chickens. And in swine naman, deficiency ng vitamin D, it can cause poor growth, stiffness, lameness, at saka stilted gait na tinatawag. So when we say stilted gait, parang abnormal na gumalaw, abnormal na maglakad. So yun. So, for the vitamin E naman, there are 8 naturally occurring forms of vitamin E which are known. So first, yung first 4 are saturated vitamins na tocopherol, and then yung last 4, which is yung unsaturated vitamins na tocotrienols or tocotrienols. So yun yung mga common or naturally occurring forms of vitamins, vitamin E. So yung alpha tocopherol na tinatawag, it is the most biologically active and most widely distributed na vitamin. So the functions of the vitamin, the vitamin E acts as an antioxidant at cellular level, kaya yung mga pills na naipapalabas, yung mga advertisement on like Myra E, mga ganun, which is acts as an antioxidant for the skin, mga ganun, it contains yung vitamin E. Then it participates in normal tissue respiration, and it is also involved in the synthesis of ascorbic acid. Now, vitamin E also inhibits yung platelet aggregation, so help in blood clotting, and vitamin E together with the selenium provides protection against toxicity with 3 groups of metals. So it provides daw yung toxicity against yung mga metals. So the deficiency of vitamin E on itong mga farm animals are yung muscle degeneration na tinatawag or yung myopathy na tinatawag. So itong myopathy, this is where yung animal will not be able to rise, yung tumakder, and then there is weakness on the neck muscle that prevents them from raising their heads. Also known as myopathy, is also known as muscle disease. So, pag may nakita kang animal na hindi makalakad tapos nakadumuglat then it is probably a deficiency on vitamin E. So, yung muscular dystrophy or yung myopathy na tinatawag in cattle, it affects the skeletal muscle which is manifested by difficulty in standing, trembling, and staggering gait. So, kung sa cattle mo naman, merong hindi makatayo, nanginginig, and then may staggering gait, most probably it is deficient in vitamin E. So, you also have exudative diathesis na tinatawag for deficiency of vitamin E. And then, you have nutritional encephalomalacia na tinatawag. Encephalomalacia. So, yung nutritional encephalomalacia, ito yung tinatawag nilang crazy chick disease. So, yun yung parang yung chick na iba yung position ng ulo, iba yung position ng um, ng mga legs. So yung hindi makalakad dahil naka-wide, naka-spread open yung mga legs niya, or hindi makalakad dahil naka-twist yung head niya. So yun yung nutritional encephalomalacia na tinatawag. It is a deficiency of vitamin A. And then another one is muscular dystrophy. Yung hindi makatayo, hindi makalakad. So last for the fat-soluble vitamins, you have vitamin K. So it was identified in 1935 by Henrik Dam to be an essential factor in the prevention of hemorrhagic symptom producing chicks. So yung new fat-soluble vitamin na ito was designated as vitamin K for the Danish word coagulation. So the function of vitamin K, it is a necessary vitamin for the formation of prothrombin, which is an important intermediate of blood clotting process. So kailangan daw ito for the formation of prothrombin, which is ito yung parang component in blood clotting. Ito yung isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit nagkaklat yung blood natin kung may sugat tayo. So kailangan ng vitamin K. So, for the deficiency ng vitamin K, can cause bleeding disease. Kasi nga, coagulation. Basta yung tandaan, if vitamin K, it helps in blood clotting. So, kung deficient ka sa vitamin K, then it can cause bleeding diseases. Then, there is a delayed also ng clotting time of the blood, and then chicks show anemia. So, bakit ba nag-show sila ng anemia? Because, of a result of delayed clotting of the blood, pwede rin na may yung blood niya, may parang complications na doon sa blood which can cause anemia. So with that, ito yung second assignment ninyo, which is on the water-soluble vitamins. So apat lang yung nilagay kong water-soluble vitamins. So here you have thiamine, riboflavin, nicotinamide, and cyanocobalamin. So, just like the first assignment, yung gagawin nyo lang is, kukunin nyo yung definition, and then yung function niya, and then yung absorption, kung paano na-absorb itong mga water-soluble vitamins, kung meron man, deficiency symptoms, and then yung sources, kung ano nga ba yung mga pwedeng pagkuhanan ng thiamine, riboflavin, nicotinamide, and cyanocobalamin. So with that, that ends our video lecture on the feed elements. So, natapos na natin lahat ng feed elements from the water hanggang dito sa vitamins. So, next meeting, next video lecture, I will be opening up a new chapter on our course on animal nutrition. So, with that, thank you for listening, and as a reminder, so para alam natin na nakikinig kayo, for the deadline of the assignment, that will be on November 9. So hanggang 11:59 PM. So yon. So thank you for listening.